This is a lesson about symbolism and symbols in Great Expectations. And I'll just take you from where I am at the very beginning here. And in the Google search box, I typed in e-text Great Expectations. It stands for electronic text. And I know that I've used the e-text from virginia.edu a lot of times, and so I just clicked on this, and it took me to, the whole thing. The whole book is online. Chapter 59, you can see down here at the end is, the whole book. So clicking on chapter 1 to get started, and we're going to find a few places here where we can talk about some symbolism. All right. And the first thing I want you to look at is right here in chapter 1 when Pip encounters the convict. And the description of him, this is what I want to look at right here, okay? He was a fearful man, all in coarse gray, with a great iron on his leg, a man with no hat, with broken shoes, and with an old rag tied round his head. A man who had been soaked in water and smothered in mud. And that's what I want to draw your attention to right there, this idea of being smothered in mud. All right, because in Great Expectations, symbols aren't used to make odd, forced, or unanticipated connections. They're used in fairly concrete ways to deepen and explore Dickens' meanings. And in this book, mud represents the downtrodden and oppressed. Okay? So the downtrodden means the people that have been, the dregs of society. If they are the oppressed, they're the ones that have been kept down in life and not been allowed to succeed. Okay? So scrolling on through here, all right, we are going to look for the place in chapter 2. Is that it? Let me see. Yeah. No, I don't think it's chapter 2. Let me pause this for a minute and find out what I'm doing. It's chapter 3 that I'm looking for. So I'm just going to go back to get there more quickly and click on chapter 3. Okay, and the next symbol that we are going to talk about is the symbol of mist. Okay, mist or fog. And mist represents moral uncertainty. Okay, so let's see what we can look at here. It was a rimy morning. Okay, many of you might not know what that term means, rimy. It refers to when it's been foggy, but then it freezes, and the fog freezes in the trees and the branches and on blades of grass in the fields and things. And it's a pretty amazing sight if you've ever seen it. Everything just looks like it's been, like frosted. It's pretty cool. But anyway, the second paragraph here says, "The mist was heavier yet when I got out upon the marshes." Okay, and so we know that he is coming after the convict, and he's got the pork pie that he stole. He's got the file. Okay, and Pip knows at this point that stealing is bad. But yet, he promised the convict that he would come back with the food and with the file. And plus, we've already discussed in class and on discussion board how badly Pip felt for him. So this moral uncertainty here is this idea of Pip going back and forth between the idea of, well, stealing is wrong, but on the other hand, I needed to steal this so that, this guy wouldn't be so uncomfortable. And Joe, of course, supports him later on in the chapter when they're, hunting down the convicts with the soldiers, and Joe makes the comment that, they wouldn't have this man starve or freeze to death, if they could help it. All right. So that's just two examples of mud representing the oppressed or the downtrodden, and mist representing moral uncertainty. All right. Now we'll talk about a few more symbols here. And that would be the forge fire, the forge, of course, where Joe has the blacksmith stuff. This represents the warmth of a loving heart Now think about the connections there between Joe and the forge fire and a loving heart. Um, Light and dark are used to represent moral good and evil. Look for places in the chapters where you see references to something light and dark. And of course, imprisonment is represented by the hulks, those boats that the convicts are on, and also by the iron file. And then, of course, the river that's talked about in the first couple of chapters. Water almost always represents life. Okay? So, why don't you go through then the chapter and see if you can find some instances where these symbols occur? And I'll put a discussion board topic up, and as you find them, put the page number up where you found it and put down what the symbol is and what the association is that you think it represents. And remember, mud represents the downtrodden and oppressed, mist represents moral uncertainty, the forge fire represents warmth of a loving heart, and light and dark represent good and evil, and imprisonment is represented by the hulks and the iron file.